Senators will take their seats, please. All persons not entitled to the privilege of the floor will please be seated in the gallery. The Senate will come to order. The session will be opened with prayer. Prayer will be offered by the chaplain of the Senate, and today's chaplain is retired New York City Police Department Detective Rob O'Donnell, Jermyn, Pennsylvania. Please rise.
Heavenly Father, we gather to remember this solemn day on the eve of a national memorial, to honor the memory of those lost and seek your guidance for our nation, our Commonwealth, and this Senate chamber. As a former NYPD detective, I bore witness to the courage of peacemakers and the resilience of families rebuilding in the shadow of tragedy with my own eyes. Today we lift our hearts to you, drawing strength from you. You remind us, blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God. We pray for those who serve as peacemakers, our first responders, our law enforcement, our military, and all who strive for justice and peace. Grant them wisdom, courage, and protection as they stand in the breach. May their sacrifices inspire unity and compassion in our communities. We also seek your blessing for families, especially those planting roots in new lands like my family did 22 years ago in Lackawanna County, as so many have done in Pennsylvania's rich history to raise their next generation. Lord, guide the families of this Commonwealth as they build homes, raise children, and contribute to the flourishing of our land. May they find hope and purpose, trusting in your provision that they cultivate new beginnings. My 3 children, a tactical combat naval aviator, a pediatric psychiatric nurse, and a Marine Corps officer, and all our children raised on the good of this nation in service to us all, let us give thanks. On this week of remembrance, we pray for the healing of those still wounded by loss and for the strength for this Senate and its deliberations for the common good. Unite us in your truth, as Psalm 133 declares, behold, how good and pleasant it is for brothers and sisters dwell in unity. May the decisions made here reflect your justice, mercy, and peace. We offer this prayer in your holy name. Amen.
Amen.
Please remain standing and join in the Pledge of Allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands.
Please be seated. The chair thanks Mr. O'Donnell, who is the guest today of Senator Brown. The next order of business is communications from the governor.
In conformity with law, I have the honor hereby
These
to
will
nominate.
be referred to the Committee on Rules. The next order of business is reports of committee. Senator Stefano reports from the Committee on Consumer Protection and Professions or Licensure the following: SB 507, SB 992, reported as amended. Is that it? That's it. The next order of business is leaves of absence. The chair recognizes Senator Joe Pittman. The chair recognizes Senator Wayne Langerholk.
Thank you, Madam President. I request capital leave for Senators Pittman, Phillips Hill, Rothman, Judy Ward, Yaw, and Dush, and legislative leave for Senator Martin.
The chair recognizes Senator Costa. You got him all?
Thank you very much, Madam President. Madam President, I request the following leaves. Legislative leave for Senators Comita, Senator Hughes. A personal leave for Senator Haywood, and capital leaves for Senators Carney, Kim, Muth, and Lindsey Williams. Thank you, Madam President.
Senator Pittman requests capital leave for Senators Pittman, Rothman, Judy Ward, Phillips Hill, Dush, and Yaw. He requests legislative leave for Senator Martin. Senator Costa requests capital leave for Senators Kim, Kearney, Muth, and Senator Lindsey Williams, legislative leave for Senators Hughes and Comita, and personal leave for Senator Haywood. Without objection, those leaves will be granted. The journals of the sessions of June 10th and June 11th, 2025 are now in print. The clerk will proceed to read the journals.
Senate convened Tuesday,
Madam
June
President,
10th.
I move we dispense with
Senator
further
Langerholt.
reading of the journal and that the journal be approved.
Senator Langerhulk moves that further reading of the journal be dispensed with and that the journals be approved. On the motion, the clerk will call the roll.
Argel. Aye. Baker. Aye. Bartolotta. Aye. Boscola. Brooks. Aye. Brown. Aye. Capoletti. Aye. Coleman. Aye. Collette. Aye. Comita. Aye. Costa. Aye. Culver. Aye. Dush. Aye. Ferry. Aye. Flynn. Flynn, aye. Fontana, aye. Gebhardt, aye. Hughes, aye. Hutchinson, Kane, aye. Carney, aye. Kiefer, aye. Kim, aye. Langerholtz, aye. Laughlin, aye. Malone, aye. Martin, aye. Mastriano, aye. Miller, aye. Muth, aye. Pennycook, aye. Phillips Hill, aye. Picozzi, aye. Piscatena, aye. Pittman, aye. Robinson, aye. Rothman, aye. Senacero, aye. Saval, aye. Schwank, aye. Stefano, aye. Street, aye. Tartaglione, aye. Vogel, aye. Ward, Judy, aye. Ward, Williams, Anthony H. Williams, Anthony H. Aye. Williams, Lindsay. Aye. Y'all. Aye. Ward, Kim. Aye. Boscola. Boscola. Aye. Hutchinson. Aye.
The vote on the motion is ayes 49, nays 0. The motion's carried and the journal is approved. The next order of business is the introduction of guests. For the purpose of introducing some guests, the chair recognizes Senator Brown.
Thank you, Madam President. I'd like to welcome Mr. Rob O'Donnell, who is our guest chaplain today, and also a guest of myself, Senator Lisa Baker, and constituent of Senator Marty Flynn. Rob is a resident of Lackawanna County and was born and raised in New York City. Rob began his career as a New York City police officer in 1992, later promoted to detective, and worked for the department's Organized Crime Control Bureau, Precinct Detective Squad, retiring out of one of the department's homicide task force. During his career, Rob has been involved in the '93 World Trade Center bombing, the response recovery of September 11th, and after retiring due to injuries sustained in the line of duty, he moved to Northeast Pennsylvania in 2004. Rob was also involved with the investigation of the Fort Dix terror plot suspects in 2007, and in November 2020 was called by his son for guidance that was in the midst of an ongoing active shooter situation at Naval Air Station Pensacola, where he was assigned, making Rob the only first responder in America involved with 4 domestic terrorist incidents, unfortunately. Today, Rob hosts the Afternoon Drive news talk radio show in Northeast Pennsylvania, The Rob O'Donnell Show, which is aired locally on WILK and Odyssey Station. Rob is married to his beautiful wife, Lizette, for 30 years next month and has 3 grown children: Gavin, a United States Naval Academy graduate and a Navy Strike naval aviator; Kayla, a graduate of Pennsylvania State University and pediatric psychiatric nurse; and Madison, who is the only woman in Northeast Pennsylvania to be accepted to all 3 service academies: Air Force Academy, West Point, and the Naval Academy, in which she graduated as a United States Marine second lieutenant, currently in the pilot pipeline. You can see this is quite an amazing family, and Mr. O'Donnell has really sacrificed so much and been through so much for our country, and especially as we memorialize September 11th. We are grateful that he is here with us today and thankful for all his help over the years. Please join me in giving my guest chaplain, Mr. Rob O'Donnell, a very warm and loving Senate welcome.
For the guests of Senator Brown, please rise. Would you please rise? For the introduction of guests, Senator Ferry.
Thank you, Mr. President. I am proud to introduce a guest of Senator Sanacero and I, sophomore at Council Rock North High School, Michael Tellegen. Michael is very interested in law and politics, and he is here today to learn about legislating firsthand. In the sophomore class, Michael serves as the president at Council Rock North. He is also part of Minithon, Model UN, the Political Science Club, and he's an FBLA member. He also plays varsity and AAA ice hockey. He has started a program broadcasting his high school sports at his school, and he is also working as an author on several books and even started his own think tank. Michael ultimately hopes to attend law school and have a career in public service. After Senator's remarks, I'm going to ask that our colleagues give Michael a warm welcome here to the Senate. He is quite a remarkable young man.
Senator Sanacero recognized. Additional speaking on the guests.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to follow my friend and colleague, Senator Ferry, in welcoming Michael to Harrisburg. Got to meet him earlier this morning at the conclusion of a committee meeting, and it's exciting to see a young person who has an interest in policy and has an interest in public service. The only thing, Michael, that I will say is there's still time. We might be able to dissuade you from going to law school. But other than that, we are really happy to have you here today and welcome you to the State Senate.
Will the guests of Senator Ferry and Sanacero please rise? We welcome by the Senate. Senator Dush has returned from leave. His leave will be canceled. Senator Rothman is now on the floor. His leave will be canceled. As a special order of business, the chair recognizes Senator Saval.
Thank you, Mr. President. Today I rise to offer a resolution for and ask for its unanimous consent. Thank you.
Senator Saval offers the following resolution and asks for unanimous consent for its immediate consideration. The chair hears no objection, and the clerk will read the resolution.
designating June 8th, 2025 as Lieutenant Colonel George Hardy Day in Pennsylvania, honoring Lieutenant Colonel George Hardy's military service and recognizing him as a decorated veteran, community leader, and enduring symbol of courage.
On the resolution, the chair recognizes Senator Sewell.
Thank you, Mr. President. Today I rise to offer a unanimous consent resolution alongside my colleague, Senator Anthony Hardy Williams, to honor Lieutenant Colonel George Hardy, the last surviving member of the United States Army Air Corps 99th Pursuit Squadron, the first African-American fighter squadron commonly known as the Tuskegee Airmen, and ask that the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania designate June 8th, 2025 as Lieutenant Colonel George Hardy Day in Pennsylvania. Lieutenant Colonel George Hardy was raised in South Philadelphia and is a proud graduate of South Philadelphia High School, where he learned to dream of taking to the skies. At 17 years old, Lieutenant Colonel Hardy followed in his brother's footsteps to join the military and began his training at the Tuskegee Institute. He earned his wings in 1944, 4 years before the U.S. Air Force would desegregate. Lieutenant Colonel Hardy went on to fly 21 combat missions over Europe during World War II with the 99th Fighter Squadron. The 99th was the first ever black flying squadron, as well as the first to deploy overseas. Their accomplishments, heroic and courageous in their own right, also helped to progress the cause of civil rights by disproving racist ideas about the ability of black men. Lieutenant Colonel Hardy later served in the Korean War, flying 45 missions, and then in the Vietnam War, completing 70 missions. During his service, he earned several degrees from the United States Air Force Institute of Technology. In 2006, he was awarded an honorary doctoral degree from Tuskegee University. Today, he remains active in educating the public about the Tuskegee Airmen and continues to serve his community through volunteerism at St. Wilfrid Episcopal Church of Sarasota, Florida, and the Coleman Knott Food Pantry. He continues to bring national attention to the racial discrimination Tuskegee Airmen and other enlisted people of color endured under segregation policies, furthering his commitment to a dual job of ending, quote, fascism abroad and racism at home. In recognition of his outstanding service to his country, Lieutenant Colonel Hardy received the Distinguished Flying Cross, the Air Medal with 11 oak leaf clusters, the Congressional Gold Medal, and 2 Presidential Unit citations. He recently celebrated his 100th birthday on June 8th, 2025, surrounded by generations of family and loving community. Lieutenant Colonel Hardy stands as a decorated veteran, community leader, an enduring symbol of courage and service. We are grateful for his lifetime of service, sacrifice, and achievement. To honor Lieutenant Colonel George Hardy, an American hero, and his contributions to our Commonwealth and country, I ask you to join me in supporting this resolution. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator Sewell. The chair also notes that Senators Comita, Carney, and Phillips Hill are on the floor, and their leaves will be canceled. On the adoption of the resolution, all those in favor will signify by saying aye. Opposed? Nay? The ayes have it, and the resolution is adopted. As a special order of business, the chair recognizes Senator Hutchinson. Senator Hutchinson offers the following resolution. Oh, I'm sorry.
Mr. President, I offer the following resolution and ask for unanimous consent for its immediate adoption.
Senator Hutchinson offers the following resolution and asks for unanimous consent for its immediate consideration. The chair hears no objection, and the clerk will read the resolution.
Honoring the life, service, and memory of United States Army Air Force Corporal Glenn Hodig.
On the resolution, the chair recognizes Senator Hutchinson.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, we are so blessed to live in a country with brave, selfless heroes like the Tuskegee Airmen who continue to step forward to not only protect us, but to humble and inspire us. Today, I rise to recognize and honor the life, the service, and the memory of the United States Army Air Force Corporal Glenn Hodak. A courageous American, Corporal Glenn Hodak served his country and the Commonwealth in World War II as a member of the 93rd Bombardment Squadron, 19th Bombardment Group. During his service, he flew his bomber, nicknamed Tall in the Saddle, with over 300 American B-29 Superfortress bombers that dropped 1,700 tons of incendiary bombs on the capital of Japan. Unfortunately, Corporal Hodak and his crew members were captured and became prisoners of war in Tokyo. And further tragedy struck as he and his fellow POWs perished in May 1945 in the Tokyo military prison fire. For over 80 years, his remains were unidentified until scientists uncovered his identity through the use of dental records. Family, friends, and members of his community welcomed his return home with a military escort a few months ago. On May 19, 2025, they finally laid his remains to rest at Spring Creek Cemetery near Warren, Pennsylvania, alongside his mother and two brothers. We today remember that great generation of Americans called to defend democracy from vile tyrants, the greatest generation. Such inspiring Americans include the Tuskegee Airmen, as was mentioned earlier, the first African-American fighter pilots who flew combat missions in North Africa, Italy, and Sicily despite overt racial discrimination. Their dedication is also a testament to the perseverance and service of the United States. Today, we reflect upon both the legacies of the Tuskegee Airmen as well as former Northwestern Pennsylvania veteran Corporal Hodak. All of these Americans were willing to serve in a time of great turmoil and defend our freedoms. We must celebrate those who serve the United States and hope that their sacrifice inspires more people to serve our great nation. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator. On the adoption of the resolution, all those in favor will signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and the resolution is adopted. Go at ease, please. Senate will be at ease. Returning to session, Chair recognizes Senators Muth, Lindsey Williams, and Joe Pittman are on the floor. The leaves will be canceled. Senator Langeholtz, recognize you.
Thank you, Mr. President. I request a recess of the Senate for a Republican caucus to be held off the floor rules room immediately.
Senator Costa.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senate Democrats will also meet for a brief caucus in the rear of the chamber here. Thank you, sir.
Senator Langerholt moves that immediately in the rules room in the rear of the Senate be a Republican caucus. And Senator Costa moves that the Democrats will caucus in the rear of the Senate floor. Without objection, Senate stands in recess.
The time of recess having expired, the Senate will come to order. Returning to leaves, Senator Kim and Judy Ward are back, and their leaves will be canceled. And Senator Costa on leaves.
Thank you very much, Madam President. Madam President, I ask for a legislative leave for Senator Schwank and changing Senator Haywood's leave from personal to legislative leave. Thank you, Madam President.
Senator Costa requests legislative leave for Senator Schwank and moving Senator Haywood from personal to legislative leave without objection. Those leaves will be granted. The next order of business is consideration of today's calendar. The first bill on today's calendar is Senate Bill 65. Will the Senate agree to the bill? Agreed to. This bill has been considered on 3 different days in open Senate and is now before the Senate for final passage. The question is, will the Senate finally pass this bill? The chair recognizes Senator Baker.
Thank you, Madam President. I rise today in support of Senate Bill 65. With back-to-school season upon us, we are reminded of the importance of school bus safety. Over the years, we have strengthened the laws to discourage drivers from passing stopped school buses where children are boarding or exiting. School buses have flashing lights, extended arms that clearly signal their intent. Thanks to legislation sponsored by Senator Langerholt, school buses can be equipped with safety cameras, and the School Bus Safety Grant Program serves as a source of funding to promote and increase education and training. But there are still too many reports of drivers ignoring the traffic safety laws regarding school zones and school buses. For example, last October during National School Bus Safety Week, PennDOT, the Pennsylvania State Police, and local law enforcement conducted Operation Safe Stop in 22 school districts in the Commonwealth. The one-day effort ended with a reported 131 violations. That's an intolerable number of tragedies waiting to happen. There is simply no excuse for reckless and potentially dangerous driving. We also hear too frequently about near misses, accounts that are never captured in a statewide statistic. Imagine for a moment you're standing with your kids waiting them to be picked up by their school bus. The bus stops in front of your home, red lights flashing, crossing arm extended, and you begin to let go of your daughter's hands to allow them to cross, when suddenly a driver blows by, not on the left side of the bus, but on the right, traveling partially into your driveway directly through the path that your children are about to take. You are fortunate to pull them back in time, and the car speeds off down the road. This is just one of several frightening incidents a member of my staff has experienced along with her children. They live in a busy bus zone. Providing for greater public safety and better protecting our children are 2 of the most frequent expressed goals of our Senate debates. This measure before us today is directed toward achieving a higher level of each. In this bill, the legal stopping distance will be increased by 50%, up to 10 feet. From 10 feet up to 15 feet. Repeat offenders face higher fines and the possibility of going to driver school. First-time offenders face increased penalties at the discretion of the district magistrate, and penalties are added for those who speed up to beat the impending bus stop. We also put an important emphasis in this bill on increased education and awareness, requiring PennDOT to include a reminder in people's driver's license renewal paperwork and encouraging our school districts to publicize school bus safety and prevention efforts. Someone who violates these school traffic laws is guilty of one of 2 offenses, aggressive or distracted driving. Neither is defensible or acceptable. Death and injuries are entirely preventable. We must insist on protecting students and bus drivers, so Senate Bill 65 sends a very strong message to motorists that school buses should not be ignored. So today I ask for an affirmative vote. Thank you, Madam President.
The chair recognizes Senator Vogel.
Thank you, Madam President. I, too, rise in support of Senate Bill 65. As Senator Baker has mentioned, the enhanced penalties for passing a school bus as well as the enhanced stopping distances are much needed. I can just readily just give one quick little story here on my neighborhood in New Sewickley Township. Route 68 is a very busy state highway, and last year the school district and the township actually went together. We now have a township police car follow the school bus for approximately 3 miles on Route 68 every day, morning and night, because there were so many incidents of where people were passing the school bus with red lights on and things like that. So just another incident of where people don't pay attention. Hopefully these increased penalties and fines will bring their attention. I urge a yes vote. Thank you.
Seeing no other members would like to speak, the clerk will call the roll.
Argel, aye. Baker, aye. Bartolotta, aye. Boscola, aye. Brooks, aye. Brown, aye. Capoletti, aye. Coleman, aye. Collette, aye.
Are there any negative votes? Seeing none, the clerk will proceed with the fast roll call.
Barry Kiefer Street.
The vote on final passage is ayes 50, nays 0. This bill has been passed by the Senate and will be sent to the House of Representatives for its concurrence. The next bill on the calendar is House Bill 238. The chair recognizes Senator Pittman.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, I request House Bill 238 go over in its order.
Senator Pittman requested House Bill 238 go over in its order. Without objection, that bill will go over in its order. The next bill on the calendar is Senate Bill 241. Will the Senate agree to the bill? Agreed to. This bill has been considered on 3 different days in open Senate and is now before the Senate for final passage. The question is, will the Senate finally pass this bill? The chair recognizes Senator Coleman.
Thank you, Madam President. Liquor regulators are seeking revenge on bars that broke pandemic rules. That's how one headline described the Pennsylvania Liquor Control Board's approach to license holders who violated COVID restrictions. During the COVID pandemic, Pennsylvania had the second highest percentage in the country of businesses forced to close by government action, with 30% shuttered statewide compared to 19% nationally. While bar and restaurant traffic has thankfully shown a strong recovery, more of it's now larger margin takeout and delivery. And as we often hear, workforce and inflationary pressures continue to challenge the industry. Unbelievably, today, the Pennsylvania Liquor and Control bullies continue to punish license holders for violations of COVID restrictions that occurred in 2020. The PLCB's enforcement has included the issuance of conditional licenses, which come with higher insurance premiums and the required sale of liquor license, effectively putting someone out of business. Meanwhile, every other Commonwealth agency has recognized the impossible situation restaurants were in, and they've dropped enforcement actions for COVID rule violations. It's beyond time that the PLCB follows suit. Senate Bill 241 seeks to right the wrongs from these excessive COVID policies and will expunge COVID-related citations from the record of liquor license holders that are under the purview of the mighty PLCB. Pennsylvania businesses suffered enough during COVID, and continuing to punish them today or in the future isn't in anyone's best interest. So please join me in passing Senate Bill 241. Thank you.
Are there any further comments? Seeing none, the clerk will call the roll.
Argel, aye. Baker, aye. Bartolotta, aye. Boscola, aye. Brooks, aye. Brown, aye. Capoletti, no. Coleman, aye. Collette, no. Comita, no. Costa, no. Culver, aye. Dush, aye. Ferry, aye. Flynn, no. Fontana, no. Gebhardt, aye. Haywood, no. Hughes, no. Hutchinson, aye. Kane, no. Carney, no. Kiefer, aye. Kim, No. Langerholtz? Aye. Laughlin? Aye. Malone? No. Martin? Aye. Mastriano? Aye. Miller? No. Muth? No. Pennycook? Aye. Phillips Hill? Aye. Boccozzi? Aye. Piscitano? No. Pittman? Aye. Robinson? Aye. Rothman? Aye. Cenicero? No. Saval? No. Schwank? No. Stefano? Aye. Street? No. Tartaglione? No. Vogel? Aye. Ward Judy? Aye. Williams Anthony H? No. Williams Lindsay? No. Yaw? Aye. Ward Kim? Aye.
The vote on final passage is ayes 28 and nays 22. This bill has been passed by the Senate and will be sent to the House of Representatives for its concurrence. The next bill on the calendar is House Bill 274. The chair recognizes Senator Pittman.
Madam President, I request House Bill 274 go over in its order.
Senator Pittman requested House Bill 274 go over in its order. Without objection, that bill will go over in its order. Next bill on the calendar is Senate Bill 381. Will the Senate agree to the bill? Agreed to. This bill has been considered on 3 different days in open Senate and is now before the Senate for final passage. The question is, will the Senate finally pass this bill? The chair recognizes Senator Mastriano.
Thank you, Madam President. Colleagues, I rise today in support of Senate Bill 381, better known as the Beagle Bill. Now, I know some of us are dog people, some cat people, some think their birds have political opinions, but no matter what camp you are in, we can all agree that Pennsylvania taxpayers should not fund painful, unnecessary experiments on dogs and cats. As my esteemed colleague, Senator Phillips Hill, said just yesterday, it's time to let the dogs out. I agree. And today we have the chance to do just that. And in fact, I'd like to say this is a positive step for our Commonwealth, and it would be perfect. Or perfect. This bill is simple. No taxpayer dollars for painful experiments that don't save lives, and no more taxpayer-funded devocalization surgeries. Because if a beagle is going to bark at the mailman, well, that's not a flaw, it's a feature. And every healthy dog or cat gets a second chance at adoption in this bill. Passing this bill would be quite literally a howling success. Senate Bill 381 also says if you're spending taxpayer money on animal research, you should show your work. Transparency in government, what a concept. Now that's something we can all sit and stay for. We're also pushing research forward with this bill. It encourages modern non-animal test methods when they're proven and approved by the federal government. That's good for science, good for taxpayers, and good for the dogs and cats. I want to thank my also esteemed colleague, Senator Comita, for being a great partner with this. You and your staff have been absolutely superb and magnificent to work with. It's been a great team effort and very encouraging to me that we can enjoy arm in arm in common cause in such a beautiful bill. Thank you so much for making this a bipartisan win. Thank you to the Senate staff, especially Vicki, Scott, and Ryan, for your patience and tenacity in making this happen. And there's also many people that were behind the scenes. Abby Avery, Executive Director of the Adams County ASPCA in Gettysburg, and my wonderful constituent, Lori Gelb. My friends at Humane World for Animals, Kristen Tulo, Heidi Prescott, Barry Laundersey, Vicki Katranak, Amy McGee, and their army of advocates and volunteers, and shelter partners, the shelter partners who have found homes for many, many dogs and cats. Also, a leading advocate of the bill brought in by Senator Comita was Miss Central Pennsylvania, Emily, for her advocacy and voice in seeing this bill come to fruition. It's been a team effort across the board and across the Commonwealth. Finally, we have here today representing what we've been fighting for is Phoebe, and she was one of the dogs rescued from that research breeding facility, and her mom, Anita Archambault. Their tireless efforts have made this possible. As to this bill, it protects animals, it respects taxpayers, and it keeps our government transparent. So let's stand together, Republicans and Democrats alike, arm in arm, and pass the Beagle bill. Let's make sure the only thing that Pennsylvanians are testing on beagles are belly rubs and squeaky toys. Thank you, Madam President.
The chair recognizes Senator Comita.
Thank you, Madam President. I rise in support of Senate Bill 381, known as the Beagle Bill. With the amendment approved yesterday, this legislation requires that lab dogs and cats have an opportunity for adoption instead of being automatically euthanized. This bill calls for the retention of records related to animal testing and increases transparency by posting the USDA link on their websites and an annual report to the Treasurer on Commonwealth funds received by the institution. This bill affirms that animal testing facilities that receive Commonwealth funds must follow devocalization and whistleblower laws as outlined in existing statute. This bill ends the sale of dogs and cats obtained by breeders with repeat federal animal welfare violations. This bill ends the sale of animal-tested cosmetics, making Pennsylvania the 13th state to address cosmetic testing on animals. This bill prohibits state funding for experiments on dogs and cats where no pain relief is given. This legislation is the product of extensive bipartisan collaboration and partnership, including feedback from our partners in the life sciences community. I want to thank my colleague, Senator Mastriano, and his Chief of Staff, Don Beischel, as well as Majority Leader Pittman and Vicki Wilkin for all their work in protecting animals in the Commonwealth. Thank you to Kristen Tullo and the team at the Humane World for Animals, especially Barry, Heidi, and Victoria, for their support and their efforts. I look forward to continuing to work with stakeholders as we take this bipartisan legislation to the House for a vote and ultimately to the governor's desk. Finally, I am especially grateful to the dog and cat lovers, animal advocates, and champions for animal protection in my Chester County district and across the Commonwealth. Their joy, passion, and advocacy highlight the importance of this legislation. Animals bring people together. They bring out the best in us. The love of our pet dogs and cats knows no bounds, and vice versa. The Beagle Bill and our bipartisan work on it reflect those values, values we share as Pennsylvanians and fellow human beings. Thank you for your consideration of this bill, and I hope that we can work together to create a more humane Pennsylvania. I ask for a yes vote, and thank you.
The clerk will call the roll.
Argel. Aye. Baker. Bartolotta. Aye. Boscola. Aye.
Are there any
Brooks.
negative votes? Seeing none, the clerk will proceed with the fast roll call.
Muth, Pittman, Rothman.
The vote on final passage is ayes 50 and nays 0. This bill has been passed by the Senate and will be sent to the House of Representatives for its concurrence. The next bill on the calendar is Senate Bill 432. The chair recognizes Senator Langerhold.
Thank you, Madam President. I request Senate Bill 432, House Bill 467, Senate Bill 581, and Senate Bill 583 go over in order.
Senator Langerhold requests that Senate Bills 432, House Bill 467, Senate Bill 581, and Senate Bill 583 go over in their order. Without objection, those bills will go over in their order. The chair recognizes Senator Langerholk on leaves.
Thank you, Madam President. I request capital leave for Senators Baker and Mastriano.
Senator Langerholk requests capital leave for Senators Baker and Mastriano. Without objection, those leaves will be granted. The next bill on the calendar is Senate Bill 713. Will the Senate agree to the bill? Agreed to. This bill has been considered on 3 different days in open Senate and is now before the Senate for final passage. The question is, will the Senate finally pass this bill? The clerk will call the roll.
Argel, aye. Baker, aye. Bartolotta, aye. Boscola, aye. Brooks, aye.
Are there any negative
Brown,
votes?
Aye.
Continue.
Brown, aye. Capoletti, no. Coleman, Collette, no. Comita, no. Costa, no. Culver, aye. Dush, aye. Ferry, aye. Flynn, no. Fontana, no. Gebhardt, aye. Haywood, no. Hughes, no. Hutchinson, aye. Kane, no. Carney, no. Kiefer, aye. Kim, no. Langerholtz, aye. Laughlin, aye. Malone, no. Martin, aye. Mastriano, aye. Miller, no. Muth, no. Pennycook, aye. Phillips Hill, aye. Picozzi, aye. Piscitano, no. Pittman, aye. Robinson, aye. Rothman, aye. Cenicero, no. Saval, no. Schwank, no. Stefano, aye. Street, no. Tartaglione, no. Vogel, aye. Ward Judy, aye. Williams Anthony H, no. Williams Lindsay, no. Yaw, aye. Ward Kim, aye. Coleman, aye.
The vote on final passage is ayes 28, nays 22. This bill has been passed by the Senate and will be sent to the House of Representatives for its concurrence. The next Senator Baker has returned from leave and her leave was canceled. The next bill on the calendar is Senate Bill 755. The chair recognizes Senator Pittman.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, I request Senate Bill 755 and Senate Bill 784 go over in their order.
Senator Pittman requests that Senate Bill 755 and 784 go over in their order. Without objection, those bills will go over in their order. The next bill on the calendar is Senate Bill 952. The chair recognizes Senator Saval to offer an amendment.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, I rise to offer Amendment A01691 to Senate Bill 952 and ask for its immediate consideration.
Senator Saval offers the following amendment and moves for its immediate adoption. The clerk will read the amendment.
Amendment number A, 1691.
On the amendment, the chair recognizes Senator Saval.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, Amendment A01691 is a bipartisan solution for our Commonwealth's transit and transportation needs. It mirrors language that has been passed by the House and invests in all the ways that people move. This amendment identifies new revenue for transit, provides for critical infrastructure improvements, and adopts accountability measures that have been proposed by other members of this body, all without adding new taxes. Simple yet comprehensive, this amendment will ensure that we can keep Pennsylvania moving. In comparison, the underlying bill before us offers no new dollars to support our transit networks, no new dollars for our roads and bridges, and leaves us in a continued pattern of design underfunding. Already we have seen that Pennsylvanians can do more with less, but their ability to stretch every dollar to deliver essential services is not unlimited, nor should it be the standard we set for our public systems and resources. For the future of our Commonwealth as a hub of history and tourism, and for the well-being of our families, workers, and businesses, students, and seniors, we must invest comprehensively in our infrastructure. This amendment provides the investment needed across Pennsylvania, from our urban engines to our rural heartlands, while the underlying bill does not. Our constituents cannot wait any longer. Our budget is months overdue, and following years of underfunding, the need for action grows more and more urgent. It's time to come together and offer a real chance for Pennsylvanians who look to us, their representatives, to provide quality public transit, reliable roads and bridges, and essential services of all kinds. I urge a yes vote on this amendment. Madam President, I rise to move the previous question.
Senator Saval has moved for the previous question. This motion requires 4 seconds. Are there at least 4 seconds to the motion?
Senator Santisero.
Hold on. I can't see everybody.
Just read them out.
Senator Santisero, Senator Street, Senator Costa, Senator Collette.
I don't even know if you had to go on that previous question.
Madam President.
What purpose?
Senator Pittman, for what purpose?
I request a negative vote on the motion.
I can't debate it, so. This is going to start
The question immediately before the Senate now is, shall the main question now be put? For the information of the members, this question is not debatable. If this motion passes by a majority vote, then the Senate will immediately vote on Senator Saval's amendment. Without any further amendment or debate on the motion, the clerk will call the roll.
Argel, no. Baker, no. Bartolotta, no. Boscola, aye. Brooks, no. Brown, no. Capoletti, aye. Coleman, no. Collette, aye. Committa, aye. Costa, aye. Culver, no. Dush, no. Ferry, no. Flynn, aye. Fontana, aye. Gebhardt, no. Haywood, aye. Hughes, aye. Hutchinson, no. Kane, aye. Carney, aye. Kiefer, no. Kim, aye. Langerholtz, no. Laughlin, no. Malone, aye. Martin, no. Mastriano, no. Miller, aye. Muth, aye. Pennycook, no. Phillips Hill, no. Picozzi, no. Piscitano, aye. Pittman, no. Robinson, no. Rothman, no. Santisero, aye. Saval, aye. Schwenk, aye. Stefano, no. Street, Aye. Tartaglione? Aye. Vogel? No. Ward Judy? No. Williams Anthony H? Aye. Williams Lindsay? Aye. Y'all? No. Ward Kim? No.
The vote on the motion is ayes 23, nays 7. The motion fails. Nays 27. Nays 27. Further on the amendment, the chair recognizes Senator Pittman.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, it's fascinating to see my friends on the other side of the aisle want to squelch debate on an issue. I move the amendment be laid upon the table.
Senator Pittman moves that the amendment be laid upon the table, and this motion is not debatable.
Madam President, may I request a negative vote on the motion to table. Thank you.
On the motion to table the amendment, the clerk will call the roll.
Argel? Aye. Baker? Aye. Bartolotta? Aye. Boscola? No. Brooks? Aye. Brown? Aye. Capoletti? No. Coleman? Aye. Collette? No. Comita? No. Costa? No. Culver? Aye. Dush? Aye. Ferry? Aye. Flynn? No. Fontana? No. Gebhardt? Aye. Haywood? Haywood? No. Hughes? No. Hutchinson? Aye. Kane? No. Carney? No. Kiefer? Aye. Kim? No. Langerholtz? Aye. Laughlin? Aye. Malone? No. Martin? Aye. Mastriano? Aye. Miller? No. Muth? No. Pennycook? Aye. Phillips Hill? Aye. Picozzi? No. Piscitano? No. Pittman? Aye. Robinson? No. Rothman? Aye. Senacero? No. Saval? No. Schwank? No. Stefano? Aye. Street? No. Tartaglione? No. Vogel? Vogel? Aye. Ward Judy? Aye. Williams Anthony H? No. Williams Lindsay? No. Y'all? Aye. Ward Kim? Aye. Robinson from no to aye.
The vote on the motion is ayes 26, nays 24. The ayes have it. The amendment is laid upon the table.
Madam President, I move the previous question.
Senator Pittman has moved the previous question. The motion requires 4 seconds. Are there at least 4 seconds to the motion? Senator Kiefer, Senator Dush, Senator Hutchison, Senator Brooks. The question immediately before the Senate now is, shall the main question now be put? For the information of the members, this question is not debatable. If this motion passes by a majority vote, then the Senate will immediately vote on the bill without any further amendment or debate. On the motion, the clerk will call the roll.
Argel? Aye. Baker. Aye. Bartolotta. Aye. Boscola. No. Brooks. Aye. Brown. Aye. Capoletti. No. Coleman. Aye. Collette. No. Committa. No. Costa. No. Culver. Aye. Dush. Aye. Ferry. Aye. Flynn. No. Fontana. No. Gebhardt. Aye. Haywood. No. Hughes. No. Hutchinson. Aye. Kane. No. Kiefer. I'm sorry. Kane. Carney. No. Kiefer. Aye. Kim. No. Langerholtz. Aye. Laughlin. Aye. Malone. No. Martin. Aye. Mastriano. Aye. Miller. No. Muth. No. Pennycook. Aye. Phillips Hill. Aye. Picozzi. Aye. Piscitano. No. Pittman. Aye. Robinson. Aye. Rothman. Aye. Senacero. No. Saval. No. Schwenk. No. Stefano. Aye. Street. No. Tartaglione. No. Vogel. Aye. Ward Judy. Aye. Williams Anthony H. No. Williams Lindsay. No. Y'all. Aye. Ward Kim. Aye.
The vote on the motion is ayes 27, nays 23. The motion carries. The question now before the Senate is, will the Senate agree to the bill? Agreed to. This bill has been considered on 3 different days in open Senate and is now before the Senate for final passage. The question is, will the Senate finally pass this bill? The clerk will call the roll.
Argel. Aye. Baker. Aye. Bartolotta. Aye. Boscola. No. Brooks. Aye. Brown. Aye. Capoletti. No. Coleman. No. Collette. No. Committa. No. Costa. No. Culver. Aye. Dush. Aye. Ferry. Aye. Flynn. No. Fontana. No. Gebhardt. Aye. Haywood. No. Hughes. No. Hutchinson. Aye. Kane. No. Carney. No. Kiefer. Aye. Kim. No. Langerholtz. Aye. Laughlin. Aye. Malone. No. Martin. Aye. Mastriano. Aye. Miller. No. Muth. No. Pennycook. Aye. Phillips Hill. Aye. Picozzi. Aye. Piscitano. No. Pittman. Pittman. Aye. Robinson. Aye. Rothman. Aye. Senacero. No. Saval. No. Schwenk. No. Stefano. Aye. Street. No. Tartaglione. No. Ward Judy. Aye. Ward Kim. Aye. Williams Anthony H. No. Williams Lindsay. No. Yaw. Aye. Vogel. Aye.
Vote on final passage. Ayes 26 and nays are 24. This bill has been passed by the Senate and will be sent to the House of Representatives for its concurrence.
Senator Yaw is on the floor. His leave should be canceled.
Senator Yaw is on the floor. His leave will be canceled.
Hold on 1 second. Pause 1 second.
Probably Kim's going on leave. Okay. Next bill on the calendar is House Bill 1057. The chair recognizes Senator Pittman.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I request House Bill 1057 and House Bill 1405 go over in their order.
Senator Pittman requested House Bill 1057 and House Bill 1405 go over in their order. Without objection, these bills will go over in their order. Next bill on the calendar is Senate Bill 10. The chair recognizes Senator Pittman.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I move Senate Bill 10 be laid upon the table.
Senator Pittman moves that Senate Bill 10 be laid upon the table. All those in favor of the motion will signify by saying aye. Those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The motion carries. Senate Bill 10 is laid upon the table. Further on Senate Bill, the chair recognizes Senator Pittman.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I move that Senate Bill 10 be taken from the table and placed upon the calendar.
Senator Pittman moves that Senate Bill 10 be taken from the table and placed upon the active calendar. All those in favor of the motion will signify by saying aye. Those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The motion carries. Senate Bill 10 is taken from the table and placed on the calendar. Next bill on the calendar is House Bill 18. Will the Senate agree to the bill? Agreed to. Further on House Bill 18, the chair recognizes Senator Pittman.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I move House Bill 18 be re-referred to the Committee on Appropriations.
Senator Pittman moves that House Bill 18 be re-referred to the Committee on Appropriations. All those in favor of the motion will signify by saying aye. Those opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and the motion carries. House Bill 18 is re-referred to the Committee on Appropriations. Next bill on the calendar is Senate Bill 71. The chair recognizes Senator Pittman.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I request Senate Bill 71 and Senate Bill 111 go over in their order.
Senator Pittman requests that Senate Bill 71 and Senate Bill 111 go over in their order. Without objection, these bills will go over in their order. Next bill on the calendar is Senate Bill 127. The chair recognizes Senator Pittman.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I move Senate Bill 127 be laid upon the table.
Senator Pittman moves that Senate Bill 127 be laid upon the table. All those in favor of the motion will signify by saying aye. Those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The motion carries. Senate Bill 127 is laid upon the table. Further on Senate Bill 127, the chair recognizes Senator Pittman.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I move that Senate Bill 127 be taken from the table and placed upon the calendar.
Senator Pittman moves that Senate Bill 127 be taken from the table and placed on the calendar. All those in favor of the motion will signify by saying aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The motion carries. Senate Bill 127 is taken from the table and placed on the calendar. Next bill on the calendar is House Bill 414. Will the Senate agree to the bill? Agreed to. Further on House Bill 414, the chair recognizes Senator Pittman.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I move House Bill 414 be referred to the Committee on Appropriations.
Senator Pittman moves that House Bill 414 be referred to the Committee on Appropriations. All those in favor of the motion will signify by saying aye. Those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The motion carries. House Bill 414 is re-referred to the Committee on Appropriations. Next bill on the calendar is Senate Bill 474. Chair recognizes Senator Pittman.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I request Senate Bill 474 go over in its order.
Senator Pittman requests that Senate Bill 474 go over in its order. Without objection, the bill will go over in its order. Next bill on the calendar is Senate Bill 914. Will the Senate agree to the bill? Agreed to. Next bill on the calendar is House Bill 1406. Will the Senate agree to the bill? Agreed to. This concludes today's calendar. We'll now take up any unfinished business. Okay. Does the chair hear a motion that the Senate proceed to consideration of all bills reported from committee for the first time at today's session? Senator Ferry so moves. For the information of members, the clerk will read the bill numbers.
Senate Bill 507 and Senate Bill 992.
Will the Senate agree to the bills? Agreed to. Announcements by the Secretary. There are no announcements. Next order of business, petitions and remonstrances. The chair recognizes Senator Lindsey Williams.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise today because the Pennsylvania state budget is now 72 days late, and we are heading back home for our next scheduled session day on October 20th, 40 days from now. I point out our scheduled return to session date because the constituent stories that I want to share today are from organizations who will be out or nearly out of funding before we come back to session through no fault of their own. One of my libraries shared with me saying, quote, "I am writing with urgent concern about how the ongoing state budget delay is impacting our library district centers. Since the fiscal year began on July 1st, these centers have been operating without the state funds they depend on to maintain services. The Carnegie Library of Pittsburgh serves as our district center and is responsible for the delivery of library materials between libraries throughout Allegheny County. This interlibrary service is consistently rated by county residents as the most valued library service provided. I respectfully urge you to work with leadership and your colleagues across the aisle to pass both the budget and appropriations language as soon as possible, ideally before the end of September, before library services face more severe disruptions that would be detrimental to our entire community," end quote. I also heard from our domestic violence shelters who are struggling to keep their doors open and provide statutorily mandated services. They said, quote, "I'm reaching out today to share with you the devastating impacts the budget impasse is having on domestic violence and rape crisis centers in your district and across the Commonwealth. Some programs have already laid off staff, and others plan to do the same in the following weeks. Multiple programs have determined that they will cease to exist if the budget does not pass, literally cease to operate, if funds are not deposited in their accounts by October 10th. Domestic violence and rape crisis centers are essential victim services whose funding should never be delayed. Please find a budget agreement or an alternative mechanism that allows domestic violence and rape crisis programs to receive funding immediately," unquote. Based on our current schedule, we will not be back here to pass a budget before these organizations and the Pennsylvanians they serve face serious consequences. And the reality is, we should have passed a budget months ago so that our constituents would not be facing these issues. This is irresponsible and unacceptable. It is not good governance, and it is not what our constituents deserve. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Next for remarks, Senator Pennycook.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I rise with my veteran colleagues in support of Senate Resolution 141. As we observe September as Veteran Suicide Awareness Month, it's crucial we confront a deeply troubling reality with compassion and urgency. Veterans in Pennsylvania, as well as nationwide, are at significantly higher risk of suicide than the general population. According to the Department of Military and Veterans Affairs, veterans are 1.5 times more likely to commit suicide than those who have not served. This alarming statistic jumps to 2.5% higher for female veterans. These are not just numbers. They are our sons, our daughters, our friends, and our neighbors. The Commonwealth of Pennsylvania is home to nearly 800,000 veterans. Yet every day, too many suffer in silence. The emotional scars of military service, PTSD, depression, anxiety, can be exacerbated by the isolation that follows the transition into civilian life. We must acknowledge the resilience of our veterans by strengthening our support systems that are in place for them. Thankfully, positive steps are underway. The DMVA has launched PA Vet Connect, a statewide outreach program that works through field staff in all 67 counties to connect veterans to critical services. Additionally, we have the Veterans Crisis Line, available 24/7 by dialing 988 or texting 838-255. No veteran or family member should ever feel alone. But with all this, awareness by itself is not enough. We need broader community engagement and more accessible, veteran-centric mental health services. It is on all of us to ensure that our veterans have the support that they need and to step up for those who have stepped up for us. By serving together, we honor those who have served and make clear, help is here and you are not alone. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Next for remarks, Senator Culver.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise today in support of a resolution designating September 15th through September 21st, 2025 as Rail Safety Week in Pennsylvania. This effort is part of a nationwide awareness campaign known as C-TRAC's Think Train Week, organized by Operation Lifesaver to reduce collisions, fatalities, and injuries at highway rail crossings and to prevent trespassing on or near railroad tracks. While there has been significant progress in rail safety, challenges remain. Federal data shows that in 2024, 263 fatalities still occurred at crossings nationwide. Another 1,464 people were injured or killed while trespassing on or near the tracks. These sobering statistics remind us that railroads are private property and that safe behavior around them is essential. A train strikes a person or vehicle about every 3 hours in the United States. These are tragedies that can be prevented through awareness, education, and personal responsibility. By designating Rail Safety Week in our Commonwealth, we help to spread this important message, encourage vigilance near tracks, and ultimately protect lives. I also want to take a moment to recognize Lonnie Martz Briner, Public Relations and Media Manager for North Shore Railroad Company and affiliates, who made the trip to Harrisburg today. I want to thank her for bringing this important issue to my attention and for her commitment to spreading awareness in our communities. I look forward to working with her to continue raising awareness because at the end of the day, this effort is about saving lives. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you for remarks, Senator Taglione.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I rise to ask my colleagues to join me in recognizing September 15th to October 15th as National Hispanic Heritage Month. This month-long designation is a time to celebrate the history, culture, and achievements of Hispanic Americans. There are over 1 million Hispanic Americans currently living in Pennsylvania. The Hispanic community in my district and across Pennsylvania has made a profound and positive influence on our Commonwealth through their strong commitment to family, faith, hard work, and service. They have enhanced and shaped our national character with centuries-old traditions that reflect the multi-ethnic and multicultural customs of their communities. Our businesses, schools, communities, and every aspect of life all benefit from diverse makeup of Pennsylvanians, including those with roots in Mexico, Spain, Cuba, Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, and other Latin and Iberian nations. This year's theme, Collective Heritage, Honoring the Past, Inspiring the Future, emphasized the rich traditions and deep-rooted history of the Hispanic and Latino American communities while looking forward to the future contributions and innovations. In the past, Hispanic Americans have fought in every war since our nation's founding and have been a part of the American story every step of the way. In the current, Hispanic Americans serve with distinction on our nation's Supreme Court and are members of Congress and the General Assembly. In the future, I know and I welcome more Hispanic Americans into government and positions of influence. We as a society are always better off when more voices are able to be heard. That is why it is again my honor to ask my colleagues to join me in recognizing September 15th to October 15th as National Hispanic Heritage Month. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Senator Taglione for a second time.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise because today has been 7,004 days since Pennsylvania last raised the minimum wage. I have said these words too many times, and I will keep saying them until this chamber finally acts. Right now, we are working on a state budget that will determine the direction of Pennsylvania for the coming year. We talk about economic growth. But how can we grow when our wage floor is still stuck at $7.25 an hour? How can we compete with our neighboring states when we refuse to pay our workers fairly. It's not for the obvious moral reasons we should raise the minimum wage. This chamber should be concerned about competitiveness. Every surrounding state has acted, including New York, New Jersey, Delaware, Maryland, and yes, even West Virginia. New Jersey, Delaware, their workers are earning more, their families are more stable, and their economies are stronger. Businesses in those states have customers with more money in their pockets to spend, and that creates growth. Every dollar in wages ripples through the economy, generating revenue that supports the very programs we are budgeting for. Raising the minimum wage strengthens communities, stabilizes families, and gives children a better chance in school because their parents aren't forced to juggle multiple jobs just to scrape by. Mr. President, if this budget is supposed to be a blueprint for Pennsylvania's future, then we cannot keep building on a cracked foundation. Our workers are the backbone of every priority we claim to support. Until we raise the minimum wage, we are undercutting our very goals this budget seeks to achieve. I'm tired of giving these same remarks line and time again, and I'm sure this chamber is tired of hearing me say them. But the people in my district and across the Commonwealth are even more tired of waiting. Let this be a year we finally act, not just for fairness, but for the future of Pennsylvania. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. For remarks, Senator Carney.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I rise to speak on Senate Bill 952, which passed this chamber in, well, let us say, interesting fashion earlier. This bill advances a false narrative that SEPTA is somehow inefficient, unaccountable, and unresponsive to the concerns of the public, when in fact the exact opposite is true. SEPTA is among the most efficient transit agencies in the entire country, shares copious amounts of open data and systems performance metrics, and is subject to all the sunshine and accountability laws that every state and local agency have to follow, and then some. This body has spent the last 10 weeks making up reasons to oppose transit funding. If we used a fraction of that time to actually read the budgets and financial statements, the KPIs, the quarterly crime reports, or the ridership recovery data, then all of us would see a very different picture of our top transit agencies. For SEPTA, we would see that crime is down across all categories and enforcement is way up. We would see that ridership has been recovering for over 50 months in a row. And we would see that SEPTA's average cost per rider is lower than every major metropolitan transit agency in the U.S. We would see that people who actually ride SEPTA are increasingly satisfied with their experience on the system. And yes, we would see that SEPTA has pressing capital needs to replace 50-year-old trains, to procure trolleys that are accessible, and to make dozens of stations ADA compliant. All of this information is readily available, yet Senate Bill 952 will add superfluous mandates and reporting requirements to convince the public that SEPTA isn't already doing everything they can. That argument is fake news. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. For remarks, Senator Judy Ward.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise in support of Senate Bill 952 and thank the maker of the bill, Senator Picozzi, for his commitment to stabilize and secure mass transit systems in this Commonwealth. According to PennDOT, Pennsylvania invests more in public transportation than 46 other states. To illustrate, PennDOT's overall budget for public transportation has increased by $1 billion since 2015. In 2018 to 19, SEPTA served over 292 million people. Then COVID happened and reshaped public transit services nationwide. Today, ridership remains between 70 to 80% of pre-COVID levels. In Pittsburgh, ridership remains between 50 to 60%. We're elected to represent our legislative districts as well as govern the Commonwealth as a whole. The first meeting I attended in my legislative district following my appointment as transportation chair, I was asked why SEPTA receives $1.5 billion at a time when 4 rural counties in my district only have shared ride as their only form of public transportation in every county. In May, I led the Transportation Committee to Center City, Philadelphia, and towards SEPTA. It was clear to me that the people of southeastern Pennsylvania rely on SEPTA just as much as my constituents depend on rural roads and bridges. I believe our mass transit systems must be accountable, transparent, and reimagined to achieve long-term stability. This is why I support Senate Bill 952. This legislation creates more accountability metrics to improve safety, performance, and overall ridership. This provides transparency by requiring the Legislative Budget and Finance Committee to analyze records and produce reports for the General Assembly. Finally, this reimagines mass transit by embracing more partnerships to deliver efficient services. This critical legislation for the long-term viability of critical legislation for the long-term viability of our mass transit systems. Thank you, Mr. President.
President.
Thank you. Yes, Senator Costa.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just very briefly, I was not intending to speak, but I think the conversation has moved into the transit space, and I feel compelled to respond. I think it's important that we all recognize that some of the provisions that were contained in Senate Bill 952 were, in fact, contained in an amendment that Senator Saval offered earlier today, and that were not permitted to be able to proceed forward, no support. It also included the money for roads and bridges, as we all know. And similarly, that type of legislation was offered prior to this time when we last considered our transportation or transit measure here in the Senate. We recognize that transportation is an important part of this conversation and recognize roads and rural roads and bridges are important. But at the end of the day, we think it's imperative that we have a serious conversation about transit funding and transportation funding as we move forward that would be accompanied with, together, partnered in conjunction with the reforms that were talked about earlier today. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator Costa. Seeing no additional requests for petition and remonstrances, we will now return to the desk. The desk is clear. For a recess motion, the chair recognizes Senator Langerholt.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the Senate do now recess to the call of the President pro tempore.
It is moved by Senator Langerholt that the Senate do not recess to the call of the President pro tempore. All those in favor of the motion will signify by saying aye. Those opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and the Senate stands in recess to the call of the President pro tempore.